Ever feel like you're just drowning in security alerts? Well, today we're going to look at a surprisingly simple way to turn all that noise into a really clear signal. We're talking about connecting the AWS DNS Firewall directly to Security Hub, basically creating a central command center for all your threat intelligence. So let's dive in and see how it works. First up, we'll talk about a common blind spot in a lot of security setups, especially with DNS. Then we'll introduce our command center, AWS Security Hub. After that, we'll connect the two, take a look at the anatomy of a security alert, what's actually inside it, and walk through the incredibly easy activation process. And finally, we'll see why this unified view is such a total game changer. All right, let's start with a problem I'm sure many of us have faced. It's not that we don't have enough security data, it's that there's no connection between all those different data points. You know, your DNS logs are an absolute goldmine for finding threats. I mean, every time something tries to connect to a malicious command and control server or a phishing site, it leaves a footprint right there. But here's the question. If those alerts are just off in their own silo, another log file in a huge sea of data, are you really even seeing them? And that's the real challenge, isn't it? You've got alerts coming in from your network firewall, from services like GuardDuty, from vulnerability scanners, and then you have your DNS firewall alerts just kind of sitting over here in their own little corner. Trying to connect a suspicious DNS query over here to some other weird event over there becomes this manual, super time-consuming investigation. It's just so hard to find the critical signal in all that noise. So how do we actually fix this? Well, the first step is to create one central place for all this information to land. And that is exactly what AWS Security Hub was built for. The best way to think about Security Hub is as your security command center. Its whole job is to pull in data from all over your AWS environment, not just from native services, but from third-party tools too, giving you one single, comprehensive view of your entire security posture. And here's the really important part. Security Hub doesn't just collect data and dump it on you. It actively works for you. It aggregates everything, it analyzes it to spot trends, and it helps you prioritize the most critical issues that need your attention right now. Okay, so we've got our gatekeeper, the DNS firewall, and we've got our command center, Security Hub. Now let's build the bridge that connects them. This is where things get really powerful. This slide just lays out the transformation perfectly. Look at the left side, the before world. Your alerts are totally siloed. A suspicious DNS query pops up here, a GuardDuty finding about a compromised instance pops up over there. Connecting those dots is a slow, manual chore. Now look at the right, the after. Everything is a centralized finding right inside Security Hub. Suddenly, it's all in one place, making it way easier to see the full story and prioritize threats based on what's actually happening. We know the alerts are now flowing into Security Hub, which is great, but what information are we actually getting? Let's pop the hood and dissect one of these findings. A finding is really just a standardized report of a security event, and the key here is that standard format, the AWS Security Finding Format, or ASFF. Think of it as the universal language that allows a finding from DNS Firewall to be understood right alongside a finding from any other service. It makes everything compatible. I know, the raw JSON can look a bit intimidating at first, but once you know what you're looking for, it's packed with super useful structured information. So here's the breakdown. You get a clear title, which is just your simple, human-readable summary of what happened. You get a severity rating, telling you instantly if this is a low-level thing or a high-priority threat you need to jump on. The resources section points you to the exact VPC and network interface, so you know precisely where to start your investigation. You get exact timestamps. And finally, the type tells you what kind of threat it is, like a malicious domain that was flagged because of its bad reputation. Now, this all sounds pretty great, but you're probably thinking, okay, how much work is this to set up? You are going to be surprised at how easy this is. It's almost ridiculously simple. Step 1, you enable Security Hub. And, well, that's pretty much it. The DNS firewall automatically starts sending its findings over. There's no extra configuration, no custom scripts to write. It just works right out of the box. And you are always in control. If for any reason you need to pause the flow of these findings, you can just do it with a single click in the console or a quick API call. It's just as easy to turn off as it is to turn on. So let's bring it all home. What's the real payoff for doing this? For these few simple clicks, what does this unified view actually unlock for you and your team? Here's the payoff.
First, you centralize all your DNS threat data, finally getting rid of that major security silo. This lets you correlate DNS activity with all your other security alerts. Just imagine seeing a DNS firewall alert for a query to a known malicious domain, and right there in the same dashboard, you see a GuardDuty finding that the exact same resource is now making outbound calls on a weird port. That's context that was nearly impossible to get before. This lets you prioritize the real emergencies way faster and ultimately achieve that true single pane of glass for security that everybody's always talking about.
And really, that's the question to leave with. When you can finally see the whole picture, connecting all the dots between all your security alerts, what hidden threats are you going to uncover first in your own environment? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.